Good to go.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished guests. Anyway, this is a presentation on nickel books and hidden libraries, or specifically the Tabard Inn Library, which was actually located here in Front Royal. And this is the Warren Heritage Society with the, what is this called? Thursday night something?
Late Night Archives.
Late Night Archives. All right. So I just want to give a little bit of background information about who I am. I'm Louis. I joined the Samuels Library Board of Trustees back in 2023. I'm also on the Archives Committee here. I'm also a steward of a little free library. I was a sponsor of Samuels Public Library with the Day of Giving back in 2023. And I would match people's donations. And yeah, there's the, my mom always pushed me to read library books. Hello, welcome, come on in. All right. So I want to go and show that I did just put this together today. So there's words that don't work well in this presentation. So basically, here's my little library. This is me with Michelle Ross back in 2023 with the Day of Giving. But I was already focused on books in one way or another, even before I joined the library. Then here's a view of Main Street, way back in the probably like 1910s or 1903, somewhere around there. And I believe that's the Murphy Building on the right. I think that's it.
Nope. The one at the bottom,
Yeah.
it's actually the Afton Inn there on the right, and then where the administration office is.
Oh, where the town hall?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I could see the Afton Inn, but I just wasn't familiar with that facade next to it.
With the church up there.
Up in the distance there at the end. Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
That's right, it was there. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the Afton in the middle?
Yeah.
With the canopies?
Mhm.
Okay, so my research began with helping Colleen Snyder when she was doing some research on the history of Samuels Public Library last year for their restoration, or they brought back the Silver Tea event to help raise funds and awareness each year. And they just had their the second annual tea event just last weekend as well, so I got to attend that one. But Colleen did a lot of research on Samuels Library. I also discovered a lot of research of other libraries in our town, and some of the interesting relationships of the people involved with the Chester Street ladies and past libraries as well. So over there on the right is a newspaper article that mentions a woman who was thought to be our first state public school kindergarten teacher, who was bringing the Tabard Inn Library into Front Royal. So there was a lot of fanfare around just having something publicly accessible at the time. My understanding is at the time, what we know as Samuels Library was not public until much later.
So what time period was that?
This would have been 1903.
Okay.
The Chester Street ladies, oh, wait a minute, let me help you out. So we have a little timeline here, and we have the Front Royal Librarian Society that was chartered, and it took an act of Congress or General Assembly to do that. And then in 1836, the society was incorporated, which I found again, I think the General Assembly was involved in that at that time. The Tabard station at Trout's drugstore was set up in 1903 until the last reference I can find about it in the Warren Sentinel was in 1906. They had a very short run, I think 10 years at most. There was the Whatsoever Circle of the King's daughter's library on Main Street for a brief moment, not even a year.
Where was that located?
It was located, there's a blue building, or no, you know where the hiking store is with the bear and,
Mountain trails?
yeah, like in that area.
Okay.
And then towards the end, they moved all their books to the Warren Sentinel, which was in the blue building, that lawyer's office on Main Street back then.
Okay.
And the Warren Sentinel kept moving as well, but and then the books eventually went over to one of the high schools that they had. In 1921, we had the community house that everybody hung out. It was like a social place. They started hosting a silver tea to raise funds to build a library or host a library. And then we have our whole history of like 1952, Dr. Bernard Samuels donated the Ivy Lodge to actually have a stable public library that didn't have to worry about paying rent or moving all the time. And that's a picture of the books up in the Ivy Lodge right now. So we are not actually hosted in the Ivy Lodge tonight, so my notes are wrong. Then we have articles of incorporation of the Samuels Public Library, and then moving over to Villa Ave when they were getting everything together to say, okay, this is what it takes to be truly a public library in the eyes of law. Then you have the Kreiser Road location that opened in 2009. And then 2023, I just threw in there just better reference of the day of giving when I start getting involved with their local library. So the Tabard Inn Library was a library in a bookcase. It was founded by Seymour Eaton. The books were in many revolving cases. So this guy, he would have people come out to different, they would travel along rail lines and talk mainly to drugstore owners. Actually, what they would do is they would go to a local newspaper, put in an advertisement saying, if anybody's interested, contact me at the hotel, or here's my card. And they would go around to the local drugstores and see about starting up a subscription. And usually the store owner to become profitable needed, I think, 75 subscribers at first. And they had to commit to coming in, I think, once a week to exchange a novel or a book. And each time they exchanged a book, there was a 5-cent fee, exchange fee. So I'm not sure if you can make out the little, there's a little door that opens on the front, and it actually has a slit that you can put a ticket in, and then you would take your book with you after you deposit a book. Some of these were hosted behind the counter, and others were basically on the loyalty system where the shopkeeper knew you. You would just walk in, do everything. You knew what to do, deposit your book, take the next book, and put in a ticket. We didn't have computers like today back then. So that kind of explains that. There was a claim of 1 million, over 1 million members at the peak of the Tabard Inn Library, and 2,040 stations. So if you think about that, think of a library boasting that it had over 2,000 branches. They would advertise sometimes that they were the largest subscription library in the world. So next we have Seymour Eaton, who was the mastermind or the promoter behind the bookcase. He was born in Canada. He was an author, journalist, editor, and publisher, really good in advertising in newspapers. That was the really big thing he was known for as before all of this. He wrote something called the Roosevelt Bears, which he wrote a lot of children's books that were illustrated. And this was after Theodore Roosevelt had his hunting accident, he was the last person to shoot a bear on his hunting trip, and his assistants tied up a bear for him to shoot, and he wouldn't do it and said it was unsportsmanlike. But he said to put it out of its misery. But he wasn't the one doing it. And then people start, well, more or less Seymour coined the name teddy bear, and President Roosevelt did not like that name because he didn't like the whole situation as a whole. But my dog's name is Teddy. We still have teddy bears today. That's probably the longest living legacy of Seymour Eaton that I think a lot of people probably don't realize. Yeah, but he was very good in advertising. He did go into bankruptcy at the end. There was a lot of issues with how the company was set up and some lawsuits. Hello. Sorry for again late. All right, so what did these look like in person? So I reached out to Oceanside Library out in California, and because I learned that the Questers had restored one of their Tabard Inn libraries, and I asked the librarian if I could get some photos to put on Wikimedia or Wikimedia Commons and the wiki page, and she sent me these photographs. And basically it has 4 distinct sides. You can rotate it. It's all made of wood. And I'm sorry you can't really read that, but I tried to capture the tops of each, because along the top of the roof it actually has a message that goes all the way around. And it says the best reading rooms in the United States are the homes of the American people. So it was, patriotic in nature. That wasn't the original phrase, but that the American people was changed at the end. I think it was before it was like in the homes of the people or private homes. So you can kind of see a little bit that there is a little sign on the third picture that I put at the bottom that says with all the red tape on the box. And what that refers to is instead of seeing books, you would normally see a lot of cloth black boxes with a little red sticker at the bottom. And the red sticker would pretty much give you a number or a call number. So you could pick out the box based on the number you were looking at and either put the book back in or take it out. And so that's how it got that phrase, which is often talked about. On the 4th image at the bottom, I tried to zoom in a little bit, but it just says the Tabard Inn Library Exchange Station, but you can see the brass slit at the top where you put in your tickets. And the 4 small images on the right, they actually say the subjects, like politics, biology, science, art. So it's like a big mix. And I'm going to share these slides later if you want to actually take a closer look, depending on where we're going to put them. So it's a pretty nice thing. There are hardly any of these available. I checked with the Library of Congress. They do have a lot of the books and the catalogs to order from, but they don't have the actual station. Okay, so the main thing is the membership system was very unique. Whereas the book itself in your hand was your membership. You could transfer it to somebody else. Somebody else could go and exchange that book and get a new book, as long as they had that 5-cent exchange ticket. What was also unique about this is like people would travel on the train. So let's say you're coming here to the train station going to DC or down to Richmond or whatnot. You could get your book here, read through it, and once you arrive at Union Station in DC, you could exchange with another book if you finished. So it was quite interesting, and like there was it wasn't necessary to keep a membership roster on hand, but they did have to do it to make sure that people would continue to use the books. Now there is another issue where they didn't like it if you didn't come regularly to exchange books because they needed to afford the books. So basically, if you want to stop exchanging week after week after week, you would discontinue your service and you would ask for a ticket that was a different ticket. It was bigger and it looked like a membership card, but it pretty much represented that you were on hold, but that you had paid the original, I think it was $1.50 fee, or sometimes it was like $5. It depends on what time you joined. But then later on, you could recontinue and reactivate your service just by providing that card and not have to worry about another fee. Oh, wait. There we go. All right. So there were about 130 to 150 books arriving each month. These stations could hold about 250 books. You could have the entire station replaced every week if you wanted to, but most of them were month by month, and the regularity often depended upon where you were and how often the routes came through. This was before parcel mail. Parcels could be sent through the post office. So Seymour Eaton was actually creating routes that we use today, but he would also have a lot of horses and stations, and he was making this distribution network himself to transfer parcels throughout the country. So here's one of our local membership clippings. Membership to Tabard Inn Library and your choice of books, very latest publications, $1.35. So that membership keeps changing over time. But that's Trout Turner right there advertising it. And that is Trout's drugstore on the right, which I think is Downtown Bakery now. Is that the building? Yeah, or Downtown Loco? Yeah. All right. Nice place to eat a sandwich. All right. Now, the gem of this is I found out that there was a kindergarten teacher that set this up, but with my research, I found out that she was thought to be the first kindergarten teacher in the state for a public school. Front Royal was at the cusp of public schools. We had a lot of teachers come in, and the owner and editor of the Warren Sentinel was also very involved with Richmond and also setting up VTI, which I think is Virginia Tech today. And he was very involved in technology and agriculture. So way back in the early 1900s, that was a big thing. Agriculture was the cutting edge technology. So and us having a train station that could go down to Roanoke or go to DC, and then we had the river with the ferries coming in. We were a central hub to everything. All right. So basically, I was trying to explain here that reading kept moving, in that when we were early in the 1900s, the newspaper would often try and push for people to come up with a library, or the need for a library, or need for reading. Reading was a big deal because all of a sudden people were getting literate at that time, because you have like Reconstruction happened in the 1860s after the Civil War, and there was a push for public schools. And now we're in a phase in the early 1900s where a lot of people are now literate and they're looking for entertainment. We don't have radio, and movies were still silent at the time. Now the library in 1920 kept moving from place to place. The Tabard Inn Library stayed at Trout's drugstore. But I'm just trying to explain, like, there's a push, there's a need, everybody wants something to read. This was a form of entertainment and education for self-help. Now I want to cover a little bit about the Whatsoever Circle of King's Daughters and Sons. I had no clue what the King's Daughters and Sons were, and when I first saw this whatsoever, I thought it was a joke at first, that somebody was doing a tongue-in-cheek, and then I realized, oh, it's a real thing. That's what they called themselves. But the King's Daughters and Sons, or more or less they all called themselves the King's Daughters. They were a benevolent society that was often helping with health care. They would visit people who were homebound, give them baskets. They would send gift baskets or food baskets down to military hospitals. They would visit people in hospitals. One of the things they were trying to do, and for a brief moment in time, is they opened up their chapter room as a library 3 days a week. And one of the people who was involved with that was Miss B. Birdie, and she became one of the Chester Street ladies who opened up Samuel's Library, or the original library at the community house. So we not only have these attempts to open a library or push for a library, but we have this crossover where the people involved in one group continue to be involved with the next phase of what came in as libraries in Front Royal. So they had 80 books in all. And this was in 1914. So 1906 was the last time the Tabard Library was mentioned in the newspaper. 1914, that's like 8 years later. So there's some time in between that period. But it just shows there's women being involved in trying to promote education and getting involved in supporting the community. So I did bring a book with me that was one of the original books used in Tabard Inn exchange system. I don't know what exchange systems it went through. It could have come through here, but I have no clue. I just got it off of eBay. But this one was called The Tree of Knowledge, and the author is just listed as a woman. That is not normal for most books, but most books had this this book plate inside that would actually tell you when it's been checked out and who by, and it's the instructions for how the system works. I also found a page at the back of the book that explains the summary of the book, as well as the price if you want to buy the book yourself. So it looks like not only did the books serve to be readable on your own, but you can actually purchase them and add them to your own library. You could always keep the book and not do anything. You do own the membership, so the membership is the book. One of the interesting things I found is somebody penciled in an advertisement in the back for Brownie THE Bobber and Brown's Tonsil Parlors. I had to look up what a bobber was. I believe that it's like a machine that spins, that polishes something. I have to look it up again. I apologize, I did not look that up today, but I have looked it up in the past. But the tonsorial parlors was like massaging and mustachios or mustaches. I don't know what corapati is, so I'll have to relook up those words again. But those are the phrases I found in that thing. So, nice business entrepreneur taking advantage of the local library to promote his goods and wares. One of the things about this is that at the time, I already covered the massive amount of literacy that was creating a huge market for these nickel books. Millions of readers wanted to self-educate and cheap entertainment. hardback books at that time were easily mass-produced. They figured out how to stretch the cloth to put over hard covers, so you didn't have to worry about leather-bound books anymore. So critics at the time complained about the flood of trash books. And this debate kind of seems similar today when AI can flood the market with books that may have little substance as well. So it's like every time a new media or form of media comes through, you're going to have a lot of critics that just do not like it at all. And then people start to adapt and rework and take a different approach and figure out how everything fits together. One of the things about this is that libraries started using this system. And they found it beneficial rather than having to buy a book and spend weeks waiting for it and then reading and finding out after the fact that nobody's reading these books and now they have a ton of books that nobody wants to check out. They started bringing the books into their libraries so that the books were available immediately as they came out. They didn't have to wait for the librarian to review them, and they could go on summaries that the Tabard Inn Library was providing. Eventually, the Tabard Inn Library, Seymour, caught on to this and created the Bodley Library, because the problem with the Tabard Inn Library is that the books were worn. And so the Bodley Library, they were actually in blue covers, and they were available new to the library. And it worked a little bit similar that the library itself could then check out normally rather than having to do the whole ticket system. So basically, I'm just looking at the community access. We had $17.99. A local subscription library begins. 1903, Main Street Drugstore, Trout Turner has that hidden library inside. 1913 have the King's Daughters. They have 1921 is a community house Silver Tea to raise support for library. 1952 is the Seymour Public Library in the Ivy Lodge in the other building. And today we are not literally meeting inside the 1952 story, but it's right next door. All right, so one of the other things I started doing was mapping all the different libraries I could find in the paper to kind of get a grasp of where these places were located. And you start to see kind of like these distribution networks forming. We got the top of West Virginia. I think you have like 2 rail lines that go down the Blue Ridge Mountains and then on the East Coast in Virginia. Then we had, my screen captured. So I was rushing through this and putting this together today. So we have a kind of like a vertical line over in Pennsylvania. Basically, I think that's also another rail route at the time. One at the very bottom of, I think that's New Jersey, or is that New York?
Tip of Long Island.
Long Island? Okay. And then we have a little bit up in the western side of Maryland near Cumberland and the Panhandle of West Virginia up there. And then one straight in the middle of DC. I started covering a little bit about the Bodley Club, and I've mispronounced it, saying it was Bodley, it's Bodley. So you can see all the libraries distributed among the Bodley Club, and there's not as many, but this started up after the Tabard Inn Library, so there weren't as many of it, and they were focused on, the bigger institutions that were becoming public at the time. So that's just a book plate that you would find in that one. You can see Seymour Eaton is at the bottom, out based out of Philadelphia. He did move across the street somewhere in Philadelphia during the middle of all this. All right, so this talk is a local archive story. I just want to say these are all the credits I went through for finding all this information. It is extensive. We have the Virginia Chronicle. We have Colleen Snyder that really helped me find out about this, mainly supporting her, and I found out through all this. We have the Horton Heritage Society, King's Daughters Minutes. Amy Hayes is one of the staff at Seymour Eaton Public Library, and she had some input on some of the things I was finding. And then I just threw in a whole broad research. Like, there's information everywhere. But in turn, I couldn't find much information dedicated to this subject alone. So I created a Wikipedia page for the Tabard Inn Library. So I invite you to look at that sometime, as well as the Book Lovers Library, the Bodley Club Library, as well as that list of Tabard Inn Library locations. The Book Lovers Library was the parent company of Seymour Eaton's empire. So he had many things that it was like an umbrella under that. And that concludes what I've got to present. Are there any questions?
So why was it called Tabard Inn?
Have you ever heard of the Canterbury Tales? Okay, so it's based on the Canterbury Tales, and even the appearance of that exchange service has that Victorian appearance that relates to the Tabard Inn Library. And he wanted to make it look like something of quality and substance rather than something small and a cheap library. He wanted to focus on quality and why you're spending the money and that you're getting good content. Yes?
Who or what group actually curated the collections, and did the collections vary by area, region, state?
So each shop owner or each owner of the exchange station would have access to a catalog. And the catalog would have, it would be in categories and have numbers for the books as well as the name of the book. So the owner of the exchange station would contact the Tabard Inn Library headquarters, whatever you want to call them, and say, okay, I want these books to come in and I'm going to exchange these books to swap with you. So the next time that whole delivery comes in, they pick that delivery. That wasn't something picked for them.
And then I guess that people would make requests of their local.
Yeah, I think back then everybody pretty much knew the shop owner in town, and very small in 1903, 1906. Yeah. Everybody knew everybody.
Back in 1906, was there any religious or governmental oversight in terms of the content that was available?
I'm not going to go into that. I've had enough to deal with that over the past 3 or 4 years. Anybody else have questions?
I have a question just related to like the free little libraries.
Okay.
So why were they started? Because it's like we have public libraries where you can get books for free with a card. Do you know why the little public libraries were started? Or the little
Yeah, there's a
libraries?
variety of little reasons. So sometimes there are things that a local library might have. So somebody will like protest that and put their own things in there. We've got people who might want to self-publish, or they just want to they want to be an active part of the community and offer something. So because I have a little free library, there's actually 2 in my community, pretty much a block apart. So the kids will actually come through, look at the books, go and exchange the books between the 2 libraries. And in mine, I just have a theme to mine, so mine are mostly put books about dogs. But what I'll usually do is I'll go to the library here, buy a lot of cheap children's books for cheap, throw them in there. They have something new. But I think that's the main thing. It's like you want to feel like you're helping kids out. And a lot of kids like to walk around the neighborhood. They don't have cars if they're like 5 or 6 years old. So, but the parents might give them the freedom to walk close to home or at least walk with them. And so the child can actually interact, and the community is a smaller, warmer place when you have that interaction. I also put like stickers. I put doggy bags for people or dog toys sometimes. So I don't, it's not just books, I put with movies or puzzles in there. So it's just, you're trying to improve and build up your community and make it a little warmer place to be at. Yes?
Louis, is there any sense of how many subscribers there were in Front Royal at any point in time?
I would say about 75 subscribers were required to sign it up, so to start it off. So there was at least 75.
Okay.
Yes?
Okay, I think I understood you to say that these, the wooden,
Bookcase.
bookcases, thank you. Have kind of disappeared over time, are they
Mhm.
assumed to be in private homes or antique shops or do we?
I have seen some for sale in antique shops online, but they're extremely expensive, like 10,000. I think it was oak, and there was another wood that's more rare to get, like a black oak or something. It's just the nature of what it looks like is, I think, was highly sought after by anybody once the things went away. There's also the bankruptcy issue, in that another company had ownership or something like. No. The shop owner owned the exchange system itself, but once you don't need it anymore, believe it, it's just junk to them at that point. It's just hard to find anything. This one, we're lucky that you can actually visit it in California. There is another one somewhere in West Virginia. When I went to look up, I wanted to go visit it, but at the time they were doing asbestos mitigation or something with asbestos. So they said it wouldn't be available for months. So I wasn't able to, and I'd forgotten about it. There is one, so that'll probably be the closest one. Library of Congress is probably, I thought they had one, but they only have the books. But if you want to see the catalogs or the membership cards, they have it there in their special collection, so you can go up there and see it.
Do we know where they were manufactured or were there different companies?
I would say they were probably manufactured right there in Philadelphia. And did I say you had like 2,000 of them? Well, yeah, that's what, 2,040. So there were quite a number of them available.
What was the physical size of those shelves, do you know? Like,
No, but there's pictures.
just curious.
Just eyeball it. It's almost as tall as me, I guess.
That's what I was thinking,
Yeah.
that it's like 6 foot maybe.
Yeah, so a little over 5 foot, maybe 6 foot, I'm not sure. And they had that base, and they were very heavy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, I'm sure it was.
Anybody else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Will this be available? You streaming it?
I'm probably going to put it on YouTube on my own personal account. I don't know if Hannah wants a copy for the archives here. I am going to give her some slides. I don't know how.
If you can leave your contact information on the papers at the entrance, then we can send, if you're comfortable, I can send the slideshow to them as well.
You'd have to send them a link.
Yeah, I'll attach this link.
Because it's image heavy. Yeah.
What's your YouTube?
It's just my name, Lewis Moten. but it's just random stuff.